Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of half pedaling at the piano. Pedaling is one of the most critical and often overlooked elements of playing the piano. I'm going to be breaking down the properties of the damper pedal, which is also known as the sustain pedal, and demonstrating what half pedaling is all about. By the end of the video, you should be able to understand half pedaling and feel confident trying it out for yourself. So let's get started. One of the biggest surprises people have when it comes to talking about the pedal is the fact that the pedal is not a binary situation. You don't have the pedal either just totally on or totally off. There's a huge range from the point where the pedal is not on at all the way down to where your foot is at the bottom of what the pedal can possibly reach. All the way between your foot being completely off the pedal and your pedal being all the way down at the bottom is a huge range of sounds that the piano can get. So don't just think of down, up, all the way down, all the way up, or anything like that. Really learn to control how far your pedal goes down, and then also control the release of the pedal. Working on those two things is really going to help refine your pedaling and also refine your ability to make beautiful colors and sounds at the piano. I'm going to show you what I mean by looking at the dampers inside my piano here. As you can see, the dampers, when they are completely on the string and my foot is not on the pedal at all, are touching the string. Okay, so if I play a note, the hammer hits the string and then the damper comes right back down and makes the sound go away. If I put my foot all the way down to the bottom, you can see the dampers go all the way up like that. And that is, of course, what happens. We hear the whole piano vibrate as a result. However, if I put my foot a little bit of the way down and lift the pedal off just a little bit off the strings, then I can get a different kind of sound. Now notice if I play staccato and I just keep repeating and I'm moving my foot very, very slowly to see the dampers lift off the strings. You can see I'm getting all different kinds of sounds. And it's not even all the way down. Remember, we couldn't even see the dampers. Right? So there's all that range. When the pedals are lifted, what we are dealing with here are overtones. The reason that everything vibrates when the pedal is down is because all of the strings in the piano are allowed to vibrate and resonate with the note that is sounded. So I'm going to show you this demonstration here. I'm going to hold down this C here silently, and then I'm going to play one octave above it. So you can hear it resonates, and I'm going to play. It's all the overtones. So you can hear, now if I play a note that's not closely related, like it doesn't resonate very much, right? And so what that means is if we just play a C major chord with no pedal at all, but then I put the pedal down and I play that same exact chord, everything on the whole piano is resonating as well. So it's not just about making the chord last longer. It's about hearing the piano vibrate with the chord. Therefore, if the pedal is all the way down and I play that, then we're going to have more resonance than if the pedal is just halfway down. It's a different kind of sound. So that's the principle behind half pedaling. I mean, we generally call it half pedaling even if it might be a quarter down or 2/3 down, because it's just different on every piano. The mechanism is different. And so you have to kind of get good at feeling the play in each different piano that you play, feeling the way that the pedal plays. I mean, when you first put the pedal down a little bit, nothing happens actually. There's a little bit of play at the top of the pedal before the dampers even go down, where your foot's going down a little bit. Then there's a section of the pedal where it's actually lifting the dampers. And then the dampers are all the way up to the top, and often there's even a little bit of play at the bottom of the pedal where the foot is still able to go down just a little bit, but the dampers are already as high as they can go. So that's interesting to note that it's not a formula for pedaling. You don't don't just feel how your foot works and do it that way every time. You have to listen to how the dampers are working on that piano. You have to feel, sometimes the pedal goes down, there's only this much, it's, you know, it feels very shallow. And then for some pianos, it's very, like a huge range for your foot to move. Some pedals are very high off the floor, some pedals are very close to the floor, and that of course means that your foot will be at a different angle depending on what piano you're playing. So pedaling, more than a lot of other aspects of piano technique, really relies on adapting every time you're at a new piano and getting comfortable with this idea of nuance, the idea that the pedal can be on or off the strings different amounts, can really take you far in that journey. Now I want to just give you a couple of examples. Here's an example from Clair to Lune. I'm going to show you what it sounds like if I use full pedals. Here's the example. This is with pedal all the way on. Okay, so I put it down and I just left it down the whole time. Now this is what happens if I change the pedal for every chord. Sounds very different, right? Now I'm going to do some half pedaling. I'm going to put this E flat down, and I'm not going to put my foot all the way down like I did in the previous example. I'm going to hold this halfway, just barely lifting the dampers off the pedal, and so you can hear that that allows the bass note to stay in the texture, and it allows the chords to blur just a little bit without overdoing the blurriness. That's a way to control the atmosphere and the color. That's why we love half pedaling. Now let me show you another example of half pedaling with another piece that is quite famous. This is Chopin's E minor Prelude, Opus 28, number 4. So here's how it goes, the beginning. Right, you recognize this? I'm going to show you now with full pedals. I'm going to put my foot all the way down for every chord change. I'm going to play just the first few measures. All right, that gives you a little bit of a sense of what that sounds like with full pedals. I'm going to do it now with half pedals. I'm wondering if you can hear the difference there. Do you hear that it's a little bit less boomy? It's a little more intimate in terms of the sound. The difference between this or... So I'm playing a little quieter too, kind of naturally, because when my foot is so controlled, then that makes me also control my hand a little bit more, where if my foot goes all the way to the bottom, it all feels bigger. If you're still here watching, it's safe to say that you're enjoying the content, and I've got something else that you might love. My weekly newsletter, Notes from the Piano Prof, is packed with practice tips, resources, behind the scenes, and plenty of things that don't make it into these YouTube videos. It's completely free, and if it's not for you, you can always unsubscribe. You can find the link to subscribe in the description below this video. Now I'm going to get back to giving you some pedaling tips. The first thing is, when you play the pedal, make sure that you line your foot up behind the pedal. Try to avoid playing at an angle with your foot. Try to keep your foot straight, and then the second tip is to play on the ball of your foot. Have that point where the pedal touches your foot be the ball of your foot, not the toe, not the arch of your foot. Right on that ball of the foot will give you the most control. My third tip is to keep your foot in contact with the pedal at all times. Don't put the pedal down and then lift it up all the way off the pedal and do this kind of motion. We want to keep the pedal and the foot in contact. And the reason is because you want to control how the pedal releases as well. If you play with a very fast release, it causes a thumping noise, and that it results from not controlling how the foot comes up off the pedal. And so that leads me to my fourth tip here, which is that you need to control how the pedal comes up, and you can even practice putting your foot all the way down and then very slowly lifting your foot off. You can watch the dampers if you have a piano where you can see the dampers and control that release. Another really important coordination tip is that when you play a note, think of lifting the pedal and then putting the pedal back down after you play the note. For example, in what I was just playing, I'm going to lift on every chord change. And then lift, up, down. So thinking up, down, up, down, up, down, instead of thinking down, up, is going to help refine your pedal technique. And my sixth tip is to remember that so much of pedal technique is listening carefully. You need to listen and check if your harmonies are blurring together. A lot of times people over pedal. There's a little bit of a tendency to maybe try to hide behind the pedal, and so you might end up playing and letting the notes blur together. But we do need to hear the different harmonies, because that's a lot of the magic of composition and what a composer's trying to say. And so really listen and making sure that what you're doing in your foot matches what you want to come out of the piano, and then refine that pedal technique. If you're interested in learning more about pedaling, check out this video right up there where I cover the basics of pedaling in more detail. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it, subscribe to my channel, and share it with somebody who could benefit from it. I'll see you in the next video. Happy practicing!